Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the North Santiam Sewer Authority Board Meeting number 70, November 7th, 2022 at 6:02 p.m. Roll call. Denny.
Present.
Tim.
Here.
Brian.
Present.
Tony.
Here.
Ken. Present. We got Tim. Denny. Who did I leave out?
Just Janet, she's not going to be there.
Janet's absent. Brian's here. We got a quorum. Hello, McCray.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Okay. And Trevor.
Good evening.
All righty. Tony, Denny has 5. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? Hearing none. Doggone it, I had an announcement. Where's Larry? Well, we're going to save that one. Public comment and questions. Please limit public comments to 3 minutes each. Do we have any public comments? Hearing none. We have some new people on here. We have Trevor, Rachel. Trevor, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much. Trevor Sleeman. I am, for the time being, the Mid-Valley Regional Solutions Coordinator in the Governor's Office. So happy to be here and listen in tonight.
Thank you for being here. Mary's here. You want to introduce? Why don't everybody go through the room and start with Denny?
Denny Nielsen, I'm on the city council of Detroit and a longtime resident, temporary recreational resident, I guess I should say, in Detroit.
Tim.
Tim Kirsch, Mayor, Mill City.
Brian.
Gander, city councilman for City Gates.
Tony.
Tony Moronis, resident, Idana.
McCray.
McCray Carmichael, Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments.
Mary.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mary Camerata, and I'm with the Department of Environmental Quality, and I work with Trevor on the Regional Solutions team.
Rachel.
I am Rachel McIsaac. I own a property in Idana with my partner, Michael, and just an interested citizen attending and listening. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome aboard. Salinas. Silas.
Hi, I'm Silas Lubnabet. I'm also with the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. I am a grant administrator. Great.
Michelle.
Hi, I am on the city council for Detroit and live up there full time and haven't tuned in for a while. So I wanted to hear what was going on.
Keith.
Keith Fidel, Oregon Association of Water Utilities. Just watching.
That's good. And Carrie. Hi, she says hi.
Mhm.
And we have Brian Nicholas.
Hey there, Brian Nicholas. I'm the Marion County Public Works Director.
Did I leave anybody out? Arthur.
Hey, Ken, I don't count. I'm Arthur in Business, Oregon, and just here to listen. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I did have a exciting announcement to make, but like I say, I'm gonna save it. So there's no public comments and questions. We're gonna move into action, and it's gonna be Marion County Engineer and Design Update by Brian Nicholas, all yours.
All right. All right. So I have some exciting news in that I've hired a senior project manager to help lead this and a couple of other utility projects that we have funded through ARPA and some other funding sources. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think this group is going to like working with this individual, but I'll stay involved with the project throughout. And he's not coming on board till later part of January. So you guys have me day to day until then, and then we'll have a nice long turnover. So I won't disappear on you.
All right.
And his name?
His name is Chris Einmo. He is not from Oregon. He's moving here from out of state, but he brings we've worked with him before, and so he knows us and we know him. I think it's going to be a pretty good fit.
Nice.
What was his last name?
Einmo, IENMO.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, updates on the project. Let's see. So the Board of Commissioners asked Keller Associates to do an initial, what we're calling a step back analysis, just because it's been more than a year since the Sewer Authority Master Plan was adopted. So they asked us to just kind of take stock of the status of everything, particularly Mill City, since they have a sewer system that they're maintaining and doing some interim improvements on. So they asked us to kind of take a step back, just look at the lay of the land and see if there's how we can, make this larger project fit, gosh, what's the right word? Sort of, gosh, don't you hate it when the right word's not coming to you?
You might want to have somebody.
Fulfill everybody's needs
Sorry.
as best as it can, right? So basically, just taking another look at the strategy that's outlined in the master plan, see if there's any tweaks that need to be done before we launch. We're presenting that to the Board of Commissioners tomorrow and expect to get the thumbs up to, move full steam ahead. Meanwhile, today, Keller's starting to feed to me the big chunks of their scope and fee, and in a way, we're basically starting with the scope of work that COG had worked out about a year ago, or they had a contract ready to go in January of this year. We're using that as a template, but we're having to change a few things just to mitigate risk. These infiltration-based disposal systems have a lot of risk in them. The sites need to be appropriate, and it's hard to approach a property owner and ask them for permission to do subsurface exploration and groundwater studies, not knowing if ultimate purchase of that property is going to pan out. So we've had to make some tweaks to adjust that strategy to make sure that at the end of this process, we do have at least one property owner for each of the two systems that will be willing to sell us property so we can site a infiltration system on their property. So we're making some tweaks there and presenting that to the Board of Commissioners tomorrow. The biggest thing in terms of like an immediate project that needs to be addressed is the commercial septic improvements or interim septic repair installation systems up in Detroit. To help, spur redevelopment of the downtown floor there. I have scheduled a work session with the Detroit City Council next Tuesday evening. And we're going to get the City Council's input on what they would like to see as outcomes for that program. And then we've already scheduled a stakeholder engagement with the commercial property owners in Detroit. We have it on the calendar. What I'm going to do is meet with the board of the city council first, make sure I have the city council's input and perspective on what they'd like to see for outcomes on this project. And then we're going to put the word out to property owners so that property owner first engagement is scheduled for the second Tuesday in December. And I forget which date that is.
that the 13th?
13th, yes, on the 13th. That'll be an evening meeting. Also up, and both of these meetings will be up at the Detroit Community Center. So next Wednesday, once we have, I'm doing some prep work now with staff to craft some messages and be ready to put the word out about those engagements. And we'll meet with the city council on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we want to start pushing out those messages. So there'll be some campaigns that we'll do, direct flyers to the commercial property owners that still own property in the city, as well as some social media advertisements. Already talked with City of Detroit staff to help us get the word out through their social media outlets as well. So we're hoping to get as many property owners as we can to that first engagement, so we can talk about just what it is that the city and the property owners themselves would like to see here. You know, there is a fundamental question that I need to ask the community, and that is, do you want a solution in which the county steps in and builds interim septic systems for you? In which case, that kind of approach really is probably going to require groups of property owners to group together and decide, okay, we're going to be served by a common commercial septic system. How is that going to work? Who's going to site it? How's the infiltration system going to work? And then we're going to have to do quite a bit of groundwater study to figure out how we can make infiltration work in an area that's heavily impacted by previous development. So that could be one way the county steps in and builds the systems for the owners once we figure out who's hosting what and where things get sited. And I haven't talked with Arthur about this, but I haven't discounted the potential that maybe property owners will come to us and they'll say, you know, we already know what we want to do. We just want to take the bull by the horns, be master of our own destiny, get their systems installed, and then we're along for the ride, making sure that they meet the standards that we need to see. There's a potential. We're doing a grant program on the residential side, so there's a question to be answered, which is, wouldn't we be able to do a grant program on the commercial side as well? So a lot of big questions to answer there, but that's coming along. Anyway, so be ready for those engagements. And I know that's the interim septic isn't maybe might not be a key interest for the group here, except that we do need anything we install in terms of interim commercial septic up in Detroit. We want to make sure that it is integratable into a future gravity sewer collection system that would be built out with the full sewer system in Detroit, Idana.
Mary Ann has her hand up. Mary?
Hey, Brian, of course, it depends upon the flows, right? Which, if it's Marion County Sanitarian or DEQ, that's going to permit it. And we know the magic number is 2,500 gallons per day. And so I guess when you were talking, I was like, oh, okay, so, and I do understand that space is pretty tight. I know that's for sure. So, you know, when you talk to the owners, if Detroit, the city of Detroit is not going to be managing these permits, that they're actually going to give permits to individuals or to individual commercial piece of property, if 2 or more people want it, then we would need to see the agreement amongst themselves that they're going to, you know, it gets, again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do this, but it gets tricky. Like, okay, so we put all 3 people, let's say it's 3 businesses, all 3 people on that permit. And if there's any issues, then all 3 get fined, or all 3 are going to pay for, let's say it's advanced treatment system, which I think we're going to have out there. Then, you know, there's annual fees. And so how is that going to all work out? So when you have a chance to talk to the businesses, you know, say, hey, you know, the governance piece amongst yourselves will be important if Detroit is not going to be sort of the one stepping up and managing, you know, these different systems. We prefer that it would be the city of Detroit doing it, just because, you know, they have rules and regulations, and they could set something up with the commercial people that, hey, you're gonna pay us a certain fee, and we'll then make sure the inspectors come out and blah, 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 blah. But whatever you need on that, if you need some input from us, we can be more than happy to share. But again, if it's gonna be private commercial folks, then whether it's Marion County or DEQ, we're gonna wanna know what's the agreement between those folks and making sure that the systems are gonna be well maintained.
Yep. I agree with you there. Plus easements. I mean, there'll be a lot of coordination. There's going to be some encumbrance if we go with this group concept. There'll be some encumbrances on different people's properties. All that's going to have to be formalized, and make sure that somebody can't just walk away from the partners.
Or if they sell, that the new person coming in understands their obligation to the greater good here. So. Yep.
I suspect that there's probably, I don't know for sure, but there's a couple things that are going on in Detroit, and one of them is, a few property owners they're buying up surrounding properties, so they have more space to work with. So we may have a few commercial property owners that have a larger development concept, and one system for them is like, okay, it fits our permitting capacity, it fits their needs, and that would keep it all under one owner, that sort of a thing. And then I think that there's probably some others where a commercial property owner isn't necessarily ready to redevelop, but they'd be willing to take a easement fee for the time being to host a facility until the sewer system comes around, that kind of a thing. So we're going to keep our minds open, see what it is that people bring to the table in terms of things that we can work with, and then we'll see how that shakes out. But
okay,
see what kind of opportunities there are there.
Brian.
Yes, Ken.
Brian.
Hey,
No, Brian.
Okay.
So, can you tell me the time frame that these systems are going to be in operation? Are they being built for a certain short run time frame, or are they looked at as 15 years? What are we talking about?
Well, they're going to need to be permitted as permanent systems. There is no temporary system sort of category for these kind of things. So they're going to have to be, up to snuff, commercial grade installations, with the assumption that they could stay operational forever. But that's just because that's not the intention of the program, but that's just the way the regulations work. So we're gonna comply with that.
Yeah, Brian, we don't have a choice in that matter. Those are the regulations that we're given. And we've thought about, can we do any efficiencies, like in I think because of how tight everything is, it's just going to be, if we have a spot that we can put a drain field in and conserve multiple properties, that's what we're going to go for. And then, we still have to go find the extra 40 or so million dollars to build the bigger system for Detroit and Idana. So we don't have those identified yet.
Any other questions? Thank you, Brian. Oh, Denny.
Brian, it makes a lot of sense to me to think seriously about your comments related to who is going to step up and manage the temporary systems in Detroit until we can do something more with the larger system. Councilor Tesdale is in attendance tonight along with myself, and we can't speak for the council, but we're 7 volunteers. There are 2 paid staff in the office who try to keep many, many balls in the air in terms of what's going on in the city. And to try and overlay the responsibility of a project like a temporary commercial system for our business core makes very little sense to me. I think the county is going to have to provide the laboring ore so that the infrastructure is built so that when the long-term strategy is finally executed, that whatever we do on a temporary basis will simply plug into the standalone long-term solution. So just my thoughts.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think this will be a big point of conversation at the work session next week, because we will want to, see if how close we can get to defining what role the city wants to take. And I will say that these types of systems, I think the majority of the systems are going to be higher tech installations. And those, the people that install those are the people that maintain those are the people that install them. So really, when it comes to the city, maintaining these types of system, it's not a personnel burden. It's having a contract for that contractor to come in and maintain and do the service. Has to be inspected once a year and reports submitted to DEQ each year. So it's more about cost burden than it is the physical manpower of maintaining the systems. So, but we'll definitely dive into that next week.
Mr. Gander.
So, we've spoken about Detroit, very much need there. What are we doing for IDANA? As far as supporting their commercial growth over the coming years. We just participated in a meeting on the weekend about small community commercial growth in the canyon. And are we setting up any plans for IDANA to support IDANA?
Well, nothing under this current project. There's not a category there for commercial septic or sewer other than the large sewer project itself. So there's nothing here programmed at this point. We do have so there's a combination of grant programs that are all coming together right now. Some of it administered by the COG, some of it administered by Marion County Public Works. That will help cover residential septic, both properties impacted by the wildfire and a few categories that are outside the fire zone. So this is, there's still a little bit of work to do with the state on funding agreements and that sort of thing. I think the COG and Marion County, we're pretty close. I think our strategy, we have a strategy where we dovetail coverages to make sure we have a plan that that most residential property owners could qualify for in one way or another. But it really is just on the residential side. There's nothing in my program yet for commercial development, the spur commercial development in IDANA.
But they are part of the big plan. Yeah. Tony.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it would still be encouraging as the narrative goes out and as we communicate to our different city councils that we can communicate that whether it's a small portion of the money, as we've talked about in the past, that is kind of committed towards looking at purchasing the land that's still there, or is that gone? Is it, again, as Brian was asking more about the commercial side of it, but just the bigger pictures, there's, what are still some things that are in place for, us further up the canyon. And I know that we've talked about that before, Brian, so I'm sure it's top of mind for you, but just kind of want to throw it out there again.
Yeah. This commercial septic is it's a pretty urgent part of the project. So we're kind of diving into that first. Come January, we are going to make the rounds to all 4 city councils. Well, it'll probably take us 2 months, just the way city council meetings line up. It'll probably take us January and February to get through those. The first big part of the first big push for the larger sewer project, and this goes for both the Detroit IDANA as well as the Mill City Gates projects. There's 2 pieces. The one is the facilities plan. That's the next step in the development of a sewer plan. And it's a formal step that DEQ reviews and approves before you move on to, into the full design. So that's a big step. So we'll be at the very front end of that when we meet with city council, so we can get city council input on, just what where things might be situated, that sort of thing. Of course, this is the board that's guiding the whole effort, but we don't want to leave the city councils out either. So we'll probably be able to make the rounds for those in January and February. The second thing is because these are ground infiltration disposal systems, we got to get access to land and get the groundwater studies going, soil classification and groundwater studies. So all of that stuff is going to have to go into process this winter, which means yes, we're going to be at least, if not acquiring, likely candidate properties, at least exercising options to buy on some properties with some access agreements, so we can get in and evaluate some real property. What's been done so far has been some pedestrian surveys and a little bit of, just pulling up soil classification information that's out there and available. We haven't done full borings and groundwater monitors and those kind of things to see, what throughout the full water cycle year, just how ground table fluctuates and where changes in soil happen, those kind of things. So that's what goes into doing a full groundwater study that DEQ will review. So we are going to, we're going to have to acquire some property rights, access rights, probably not full purchases, but an option to buy kind of an agreement with a few property owners to get that going. So, so we'll be reaching out to those properties directly that we think could be candidates. If you have any questions about that, I don't want to be cagey here, but if you do have any specific questions about that, feel free to give me a call one-on-one and I can answer any questions you have.
Yeah, and I know that we have, if they're still on here, that a couple of property owners that potentially could be impacted by that. So thank you for making that available, and would encourage you guys, if you're still online, to reach out to these guys. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, everybody, I want to make my announcement that I've been waiting to do this since the beginning. Larry Rupp represented the USA in Argentina, 1,300 participants. She came in number 3. And come on, you got to show, where's the medal? Where's the medal? Come on.
I'll get
Come on. Come on.
What did she participate in? I think I missed something.
Yeah, I gotta let her tell you.
Okay.
That's what I've been waiting for. Explain what you did, Larry.
It's the third in the world at giant slalom skateboarding. And so we go and we race down a giant mountain pass road through an obstacle course of cones. And I just started actually 4 months ago. I entered the national championships, which was in Salem. And I won 4th. Apparently I ranked 4th in the world at it. And so they said, hey, you want to come and compete at the world championship? And I said, my God, Team USA, of course, sure.
That's pretty awesome.
So that's where I've been the last 2 weeks, but I brought it back, man.
It's about the scariest thing that a person can do, I tell you.
I know. I'm like, I hope you're all full of pads, man.
We are. We are.
A big crash.
If you've never seen it, you better look.
How many bruises, though, from just a weekend?
That was a great video, Larry.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Just hauling.
She seemed to have all of her teeth still, which most of us on the call wouldn't after it.
A couple chips. I got a couple chips in them.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I grew up in Colorado. Everybody just kind of skis and stuff. So, it just went out there and stomped. My first contest at the Nationals, it's like, oh yeah, someone handed me a board and I just was ace in the hole, I guess. And so I was like, yeah, of course, Team USA, let's go to Worlds.
Number 3 is number 1 in my book. I tell you what,
Not too bad.
that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, we got to watch out. Latvia is a tough competitor.
Well, I know you sent Denny the YouTube link, but I didn't get the YouTube link.
Oh yeah, I could send it to you, Ken.
That'd be awesome. I mean, you can share it to whoever you want. I mean, that's pretty cool. I just wanted to share it with everybody.
Thanks, guys.
It's pretty impressive.
I'm pretty hyped at my cube there in community services. It's all covered in American flags. It's awesome. We're having a potluck next week.
Right on. All right, we got to move forward. IGA, COG and the NSSA. McCray.
I don't know if there's much more you need from me. We have proposed IGA at this time that the NSSA has had to do a lot of work to have all the right components to be able to sign the agreement. So it's really a matter of you all discussing whether you want to go into a contract with the COG to provide project management services. At this point, we're still recruiting. I have a meeting tomorrow with someone that I think would be a good candidate. We had interviews, no one was the right fit. I have after Danielle and all the people who are involved, I'm looking for a specific person to do this job.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Well,
Can I answer any questions for anyone?
any questions? Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the IGA with the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments.
Second.
Oh,
Who seconded?
Denny.
Any more discussion? Well, we have made a motion to join the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. Join up with the NSSA. Let's take a vote. Denny,
Aye.
Tony,
aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and Ken is an aye. Motion passes. Now we need to sign it. So Tim and I are the ones that assign it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Google Drive and password. Last week, well, with the passing of Ron Carmichael, it raised some questions about our password. Everybody, it's out there. And last week, McCray was trying to get on, and there was an old password, real old password. She couldn't get on. So I tried my talents, or lack thereof, but I got on there and I had to change the password. So all the passwords for Google Drive, Zoom, everything was changed. I know that was done, that was on the agenda, but it was done before the meeting. And we should change password every now and then just for security. So I don't know if there's a motion that needs to be made or just accept that it's been changed. Anybody have any comments? Mr. Gander?
Well, how was the change communicated?
Between McCray not being able to get on and things just got done, I did it.
I mean, but how was it communicated to board members?
It wasn't communicated to board members. It was on the agenda, but it happened before this meeting, just before the meeting.
To clarify, Ken, maybe 3 weeks ago, we met just to develop the agenda, and Ken wanted, I think, the group to talk about the Google Drive and passwords and who has access to it. So that was on the agenda. Coincidentally, last week I was trying to log in to access Google Docs and I couldn't. And I contacted Ken and I said, I can't log in. And he moved from there. So there's kind of two different moving parts in this. That there's a discussion for you, I think, to have as a group on who should have that password and who has access. I know y'all have talked about it a little. And then there's the point of the password just need to be changed because none of us could access it, Ken, Denny, or myself. So.
Right, and we also had a cybersecurity risk too, so it was prudent to have changed it.
Yeah.
So it
So
wasn't
did
done,
everyone have the new password and username?
not yet. No, that's part of our discussion. Brian, Mr. Gander.
Well, I kind of asked this last month, regarding cybersecurity and the use of personal emails, but it never came up for discussion and I do believe it's a concern because I use my city computer, my city council person computer, and the last thing I need is, some email getting ticked accidentally in my email box because I didn't have my mouse in the right spot and downloading some garbage onto my machine that's come from a personal email account. So that concerns me that we don't have Google accounts that have a second level of verification that's free from Google, that at least keeps our emails a little bit more secure than maybe some of our home systems.
Any other comments? Well, we'll have to do some looking into it and we'll just put this aside for the next agenda and do some more research on it. Is that okay with everybody?
Works for me.
Does that mean that we don't have access to the Google Drive?
No one has the passwords as of yet, and
so that's literally nobody, or
I
you
have
and-
it, McCray has it, and who else has it?
Denny.
And I can send it out. But we're also looking at who's going to be having access to all this stuff. Instead of being out, we need to, all right, let's have that discussion. Who needs access to it?
What does access to it give me?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Google Drive, everything on it. The documents, agendas, templates,
report,
emails, the reports that we put on there, stuff like that.
I don't feel personally myself would need access to it except for what's submitted to me through the board personally, prior to the meetings or during the meetings.
So you're okay with receiving things
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the meeting and then let somebody that.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to offer, I'm looking at the Google Drive right now, and anyone, we could create a situation where anyone with like a general access link could be a commenter to files and be able to access it. I mean, right now, when I look at it, what I don't know about Google is several of you are listed as editors for the Google sorry, the NSSA share, like there's a little person icon. And, you know, like Brian, it says you're an editor, Tony, you're an editor, Denny, Janet, Kelly, Ken, McCrae, Sarah, Tim, but we could, so I feel like even though everyone maybe can't log into the Google Gmail account, the North Santiam Sewer account Gmail, I think everyone on the board could have either the ability to view. The three options are view, comment, or edit the files. And I think that might be a good starting point to make sure that you all have the ability to access the Google shared drive. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Brian.
Brian Gander had his hand up, Ken.
I believe Sarah created those opportunities for us because we had working documents. You know, we had asked board members to look at the financial documents. Then he had asked us to look at the communications plan and edit the communications plan. I've never been in the NSSA Gmail account. I don't know why I would need access to that. I don't want access to that.
Yeah, okay.
But Danielle put a lot of information on that Google Drive that are foundational pieces for this organization. And I would appreciate access to those documents.
I think you have it, Brian.
I think I do as well. Well, until the password was changed.
But he
What?
doesn't have the new password yet.
But that shouldn't matter. The new password shouldn't matter.
I can see if I can go into the Google Drive right now, but
Yeah, what the new password would give you would be access to all the parts of Google, like your Google account, like the Gmail. But I believe I want to make sure that all the board members have access within the NSSA shareholder. And I'm not great at Google, but as much as I understand it, I think everyone who has, you know, you're all given a right, and I think you can all be editors to documents. And then if any of you were to log in through your own Gmail accounts, it's tracked that we would know if something had been opened and worked on. So in that way, I think we're getting at the essence of both having security, a limited amount of people who can log into the Gmail account, but then making sure that all the board members have access to the Google Doc.
You're able to get on, Brian? You're muted, Brian.
I was listening to McCrae, so I hadn't tried, so.
Oh, okay. We all listen to McCrae. All right, we're gonna work on this.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna shut anybody out. But I think, you know, password should be changed quite a bit, but this just happened real fast. And I know you made a comment a while back, but part of our board policies, we need 2 people to come together to make a recommendation for something to be put on the agenda. So we'll get involved in that later. Any more on Google Drive and password? All right. Moving to grant update. Silas, all yours.
Sounds good. So I guess to give everyone a brief on what I've done so far. So we are applying for the Ford Family Foundation Technical Assistance Grant, and I happened to meet with Denny and Ken, I think a week and a half ago, to kind of draft out a little proposal for applying for the grant. And for the application, which I can log on to for a screen share of just the portal. Basically,
You want a screen share?
Yeah, that might be.
All
Yeah.
right. You're set up.
Thank you. But yeah, so basically the proposal we came up with is requesting 5,000 to go towards a communications consultant to help the board basically draft out a plan of outreach meetings to be hosted in the various cities, to basically allow various stakeholders and public officials and the community themselves to basically learn more and ask questions about the project. Essentially what similarly Brian Nicholas was doing, and just the information that he's been providing. And I think it's good that, at least with everyone being on the board being volunteers, we can have someone in particular dedicated to assisting with the communications outreach, making sure that these events are hosted correctly. So I'm currently logging into the possible.
Larry, while he's doing that, how fast does a skateboard go when you're going down a hill like that?
On the giant slalom, we go about 30. On they have super giant slalom, which I'll go about 40. And then on we have a hybrid slalom, which is maybe about 20. And then we have the tight slalom, which is maybe about 15.
Sign me up for the bunny hill slalom.
Yeah, and then we race on all derby hills because they're all built to spec. Like it's like 16% grade, and then like a 6% grade, and then like a 2% grade. And so like we ride the upper section and compete on all the soapbox derby hills.
Wow.
So they do serve a secondary purpose. Which I've just been learning about it. But yeah, it's pretty chill. You know, it's very civilized sport, which I really like about it. Sometimes, you know, skateboarding comps can be crazy, wild. And so, but these ones are all very civilized, like ski racing, but not as expensive.
30 miles an hour, an inch and a half off the asphalt does not sound chill. That's very cool. Anyway, cool. Chill, I don't know.
My skateboard experience was those steel skates. Take them apart, put them on a piece of wood, and go down 39th Hill at about 16% grade and hope you make it.
Yeah, that's how slalom skateboarding was actually, I've learned the first sport, because yeah, they just had like those roller skate trucks, right? That they would ride on those super tiny boards. And so people had to ride with their feet forward in order to fit on them. And they would do slalom skateboarding. And so it's been around since the 70s.
Right on. All right, Silas, you're on. Are you're muted? Where'd you go, Silas?
Hi, so sorry, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is the Ford Family Foundation Technical Assistance Grant, and essentially for the project, we are proposing and this is a septic recovery outreach and communications consultancy. So basically, we are going to apply for 5,000 to go towards we are, if I can get here. Yes. We are applying for 5,000 to go towards the hiring of a communications consultant to organize event meetings to basically discuss both projects, particularly on the Mill City residential septic situation, which I think after speaking with the Ford family and McCrae, hiring a consultant group by Kearns and West specifically, which they have a base in Portland, which is a communications firm that deals with mostly policies. I think that would be a group to hire to assist the NSSA along with other communications administration work. But yeah.
Silas, why did you choose 5,000? It looks like it says it could go up to 50,000. Is that just kind of, is it for like so many meetings, you think, or?
So for 5,000 in particular, is just with the technical assistance grant. The Ford family has a large, they both have large good neighbor and small neighbor grants, which go towards programmatic and operating, as well as 50,000 for capital. So to my knowledge, 5,000 specifically for technical assistance is a one application, with the separate one being for the other eligible award amounts.
Okay, thanks.
So just to reiterate, Silas, you're saying that since it's not a capital program, since it's not a capital project, since it's more of an operational thing, we're capped at a $5,000 ask?
Yeah, at least for this technical assistance grant. But if we want to apply for something apart from just the technical assistance, we can apply for either the 25,000 or the 50,000. But the eligibility the eligibility requirements are the same as they describe in just the small neighbor grant or the small good neighbor grant.
So in theory, could we also, because I think you can only get one Ford Family Foundation grant a year, right? So in theory, like next year, would we be able to apply for a $25,000 operations grant?
I don't see why not, but I can ask in that case. And I know our deadline for this grant in particular is before the end of December. So I'm not too sure, but I can ask.
Yeah, that'd be my question. I think that's a great question. If we can apply for this before the end of 2022, are we able to apply for something larger that applies to the greater scope of things in 2023?
I think that's a good idea. And I think given that time within the project, we'd have more of a concrete need or an ask for that larger grant. So I think that would be a good idea as well, just to plan for that.
We couldn't apply for any of the grants for the Ford Foundation until we got registered, and they really were quick to get us registered. I had to do some, filling out forms or whatnot. But as soon as that was done, Silas took over and they've been pretty positive about this. So I think they're going to work with us. I hope. So have you actually sent it off to them, or?
I plan to set it off by this week. So what you see here is their online form, which is, I will say, a bit annoying to fill out, but I have.
Can you scroll it down, go through page by page a little bit and show everybody, because we're stuck on one.
Sure thing.
But does anybody have any questions about this?
I guess, how long, is there a deadline for how long we need to spend the grant? If we submit by December, in December, is it like we have 1 year to spend it, or?
It
I don't know
doesn't
if you saw any
say.
on there.
They don't particularly say.
I didn't get that one.
But they only have the requirement of waiting 12 months after the completion of the prior grants. So I believe you have to expend it and then wait 1 year before applying again, is to my knowledge. But I don't think there is a time limit for when they must spend all of the money.
Hey, Silas.
Yes.
Arthur just put something up. If Biz Oregon can help make connections to the Ford Foundation's staff, please holler. We know a few of them. You may find this forthcoming program useful, and he's got a link. Did you see that?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so the Equity Investment Act is actually, I know Denny sent an email towards that grant, but yes, so Equity Investment Grant is one that I believe is to go to, I thought, let's see, 15 million, yes, 15 million to go to disadvantaged individuals and businesses. I'm curious what by disadvantaged, what that particularly means.
Yep,
it just says in the 4 areas.
Yeah, there are 5 different criteria for disadvantaged, and grant program would help people to touch at least 2 of them. And for example, 2 of the criteria are socioeconomic status, so being low or moderate income, and residence in a rural location. There's probably quite a few folks in the canyon that could touch those 2 criteria. There's 3 others, right? But anyway, the goal is to grant funds to organizations, which could be municipalities or nonprofits, to provide asset building help to disadvantaged folks. Could be down payment assistance for home purchase, or septic repair and rehabilitation, or business lending or business grants. Could be immigration assistance, could be apprenticeship programs. So there's a pretty big door there, but I think there's probably room for an application for a project that helps something related to the North Santiam sewer, especially if that thing is not a capital project, right? There's not enough money here to make a big dent in a construction project, but it's probably something else there that you could find a way to use, Silas. And I'm happy to talk with you more about that program, or not just you, anybody on the call. I'm happy to talk with you more about that. But the grant RFP will probably come out in late November or early December.
Did everybody see that link that he posted?
Yes.
Tony? You're muted. Okay, good, good. Brent, Mr. Gander, did you see that? Okay,
Yes, I did. I was copying it into an email for myself.
okay.
So, yes, just to go to the application itself. All right. So what we have for the application so far, I had about this. I have these questions written down, but basically explains how our organization aligns with our area. A lot of the information is already provided on the website and through the white paper, so that's been a fairly easy situation. What I'm particularly interested in is this question of how we are to define success for this project, measuring our, just the goal of then is to say, if we were to have an outreach coordinator to just help smooth out the process of, interacting with the public and making sure that the county and engineering services are together. If anyone has any input for that.
Well, I'm not, I don't think the screen, at least on my end, is keeping up with where you're scrolling. I'm still seeing an intro page, but it's okay. You're doing a good job explaining, but I don't think the video, at least for me, is tracking.
None of us.
It's the beauty of Zoom. You're doing fine, Silas.
Okay, no worries. But yeah, just the question is, question in the application is anticipated results. And the question is, tell us how you are defining success for this project and how you will measure it. I'd like some input on just how would we view just having a better communications plan? Do we expect, more interest in having the board fill roles, or just more volunteering? I just wanted kind of a brief input on that.
I don't know how much more volunteering we can get in there. We know we have to go for council meetings. We know we have to make the rounds. We need to start posting our agendas on there. We already have our website. We need to keep that up to date.
And I propose the funds can also go towards this consultant, helping keep up with that administrative task as well. I don't see that as
but we have to, we have to get with Keller. They have something that they're supposed to be doing, part of their contract. Marion County's being a part, we're being a part of it, the council. We got to keep it local. We got to keep it in the communities. We get a whole bunch of players in there. I don't know how it's going to make some people feel, but
well, we know how it'll make them feel. It'll start making people feel like somebody else is making a decision for them, and they don't have a voice in it. And so I think that didn't Brian, sorry, not Brian Gander, but Brian said earlier that having the city council meetings on the agenda for the county to make it, even though it might take several months, that's a good thing. And having whoever's on city councils, that we've got city council members and mayors on this call. So I think that's an important way, especially, up here in Idana, it's, we're tiny. So it's just, getting the word out, show up.
I think hiring a consultant, I would like to see more of us be involved in the council meetings. Maybe even a retractable banner. We have an old one that has the old logo on it. They're around 250. To get a new one made up with our new logo, have that so we could take the meetings, maybe
So council turnout.
yeah, more council turnout, more one-on-one with our community, because we know how they're gonna act. They wanna know our involvement. We wanna keep it simple, we wanna keep it local, and we wanna know that their voice is gonna be heard. And their opinions matter. So we know our communities.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, I really rely on the communities of Mill City and Gates. I look at Gates as kind of being the smaller community to Mill City, obviously, and then us to Detroit. And so it's kind of that following in the footsteps and having the same voice and having that same presence and that same desire to make sure we're pushing out that same information, whether it's banners or we come together and, you know, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 people, if we've put the information out there and we are excited to let people know, let's have a dialogue, right?
Yes, one-on-one. Yeah, I mean, just representation, local representation, and bringing some, instead of bringing somebody from the outside trying to do it for us.
Okay, thank you. That's
how we started.
Oh, wait, I guess I could have a caveat, unless they're willing to stump to help us raise an additional $40 million.
Oh, yeah, hey, yeah.
I don't know if I should say that.
No, but hey, it's all gonna happen. It's just a long process, believe me. A long process.
Okay.
I remember the one person I started out back in 2011, Gary Ardman, with a DEQ out of Eugene. He told me, Ken, this is not going to happen overnight. That's an understatement. 11 years ago. So yeah, our communities just want to hear from us.
If I might interject real quickly, Ken, they also, people want a place that they can go to look for information, but also, you know, so we need to be able to make sure we have our information coordinated so that anybody that's curious can look at our website, look at all the stuff, find the information that they need, but also we also disseminate information where we send it out monthly, quarterly, whatever, to the different city councils or people that are signed up to receive the information, whatever, so that they can automatically get something that is that we, I want to say, post or feel valuable to, that we want to send it out to the community. But like I say, everything has to look and be transparent and easily accessible, as well as we need to shout it out to people when we feel that there's something that folks need to know.
Agree. Mr. Gander.
You know, I just think it needs to be coordinated is the only piece. We all need to be talking from the same bullet points. And if we're all carrying out the actions that you've stated, which I agree with, they all have to be from the same bullet points. So people are hearing a consistent message because they travel, you know, they have friends in different communities and they sit around the table. They should be sharing the same bullet points that we're trying to inform them with.
I agree. Denny,
And yeah.
Go ahead. Silas, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, those are all good points, and that helps me to finish, or at least add the rest of the application. And so I should have that done and ready to send to you, Ken, for signature.
All right. Yeah, I gotta, I'm gonna have to, get the IGA contract for Tim and I to sign, so I can, come down and sign it at the same time. You get it all ready, you let me know, and I'll travel down there.
Sounds good. And if anyone has any questions just about the application, just the work I'm going, feel free to just shoot me an email.
No, we don't want to do that.
You know what I meant.
I know.
Yeah.
Denny has, thank you, Silas. There's a white paper on our Google Drive. Even has our mission statement in there. Is everybody familiar with that? Okay, what if I send it out to everybody?
I've sent it out to a number of the folks on our board, as well as I think I even sent it to Mary.
Yeah, you did.
And, have a look, because we would be appreciative of your thoughts and any sort of edits you think might be important to make it more receivable by the public. Backing up a little bit, I agree with what Tim said a few minutes ago. We may not want to use a consultant, but we should always remember that a prophet is not a prophet in their own land. And I think it's great that the volunteers do everything they possibly can, and that they make sure that all of the resources that are out there helping us in this project are availed to the opportunities in the various council meetings. But right now we've got Denny Nielsen, who's sitting with communications for the NSSA. We're going to have our NSSA authority manager soon that's going to be a player in this. We're going to have Keller's communication consultant available to us, and there's one more that I'm not remembering right now, but there are basically 4 people who are going to be involved in communication. And I think this consultant, if they did nothing more than to gather information from all of the people who are at play trying to do the same thing and make sure that we're speaking the same words over and over again, no matter who the presenter is, and that information is updated and made available at every opportunity that we can find. So until we get some more information from Keller, we really can't begin to communicate very effectively, because even though Brian gave us more meat on the bones tonight in terms of what's going on in Detroit, for example, there are many of us on the Santiam Sewer Authority that had no idea that there were negotiations going on with Kane's Marina, for example. And that Marion County could take the lead and purchase a lot of the larger construction components and make them available to whoever the contractor is that is awarded the bid. And then, that sort of activity, though we appreciate it, and we really, I think, are taking advantage of their expertise within our community, but it also sets up the possibility for people to start developing opinions that aren't necessarily based in fact, because they just have snippets of information. And the last thing I heard about was that one vendor or business within the city of Detroit was going to be enriched by Marion County at the expense of everybody else, and that the city council was going to be paying a lot of expenses for pumping tanks and a lot of other ancillary activities. So it's so important to have somebody who's working, that's paid to take in all of this information, coordinate it, and make sure that all of us who are speaking about it in any of the venues speak with the same tongue.
I agree.
We're going to work it out.
Hey, Danny, I think it would be good until we have the people in place is, the questions that are coming up, because maybe we could do a FAQ, frequently asked questions. So when you think about when I'm hearing people talk, it's like, well, when's it going to happen? That's a common question. how much is it going to cost? And even if we don't know that, we can say, well, this document will be prepared and we'll have numbers on the cost. You know what I mean? So while we're waiting for the professionals, we could still have a document on Google Docs that captures the questions we've been hearing from the public and from the city
Well,
council.
and that's, thank you, Mary. You know, the other piece that's available on the Google Drive is an FAQ that's 2.5 or 3 pages long that I think addresses a lot of the issues that you just spoke about. And maybe some of those need to be updated today, but there are certain of those questions that we're still waiting for answers for. So fortunately for us, I guess, given where we are in our evolution as an organization, is that it's winter and we don't have to move quite as fast as we would have to if it were March or April. But any input that we can gather from all of you regarding those 2 documents, and Silas has them, by the way, to just make them more effective in terms of our outreach and information display to our communities would be very appreciated.
Can you send those 2 documents to Tony?
I can, sure.
Mr. Communications.
Well, they're on the Google Drive. All you got to do is go on the Google Drive and they're right there.
Hey, he's.
Oh, okay. Well, I can send them. That's fine.
I don't have, well, I haven't been given access. It sounds like I have access, but. So maybe Ken, you and I can talk about that.
Yeah, I'll get something to you. Who just had a comment? Third place win. Yeah, we got it. Cool. It's a work in progress. It's been working on this for a long time. I know we're waiting for Keller. The contract just been signed. I know this thing's going to start moving fast, but take a deep breath. We'll work on it. Silas, you got everything you need to get it?
Yes, I do.
In this week. Good. All right. Anything else on the grants? The grant update? Hearing none. Policies and procedures. Board meeting versus work sessions. We've had a lot of work sessions. We've had trouble trying to move forward on our work sessions. Work sessions are good, trying to put things together, put your minds on a project, but we need to keep moving forward. And work sessions, we can't make decisions. We can't, and only in board meetings we can make decisions, make motions, and keep things moving. So what's anybody have anything to say about board meetings and work sessions? Work sessions are okay when we have something to put together, but we've been trying to keep moving on the IGAs and the communications and what else needs to be done.
So the notes that we had from the last time we discussed this, when we had the idea, was these are public meetings, these ones that we have that are work sessions, these public meetings that are posted and properly posted, there should be no reason we can't conduct business. And at the work session, we can exclude the public, but at a board meeting, we cannot exclude the public. But at these sessions we've been having, we could just be including the public. And then also, instead of calling these work sessions, we could call them a board meeting. And then we can eliminate the designation of the work session and just say we have 2 regular meetings a month and that they require quorums. And if there's not a quorum at one of these board meetings, it becomes a work session where the action can't be taken. And then, for one of them is a more formal one where, say, like the once a month, like the one we're at now, is where we have like the Brian Nicholas update. And And, like we open it up more so to the public, like for Arthur and Mary. And then our other one, that was the work session, that would become a board meeting that's actionable. But, it's more of an internal meeting for the members. How it is now is the work session, but we would just be able to take action at it so long as we have a quorum.
Any comments? I think having two board meetings. The first one, like Larry said, is the formal one. Second one is still a board meeting. We'd have to have a quorum. Work sessions are fine. We'll eliminate the Fridays. But work sessions are good if you're trying to put something together and you do not have to make a decision. We seem to have to make decisions. And so sometimes work sessions get on our way.
Well, I like what Larry just suggested, is we have two board meetings a month. Unless we don't have a quorum at one, then it becomes a work session. And then is there an issue with that?
I don't have an issue. Mr. Gander.
So you have all of these tools in your toolbox. A public meeting, a board meeting, a work session, a special meeting, an executive session. These are all tools that the board chair can use to structure the meeting format for the authority. So a special meeting is a work session where you can take action. So instead of calling it a work session where you can exclude the community and then discuss but take no action, work session. Special meeting, community does not get to participate. Your agenda items are limited to what's on your agenda and you can take action. Regular meeting is typically what our document calls a board meeting, but it's typically referred to in the public meeting laws as a regular meeting. So you have all the tools. It's just structuring the tools by the way you set up your agenda and agree to your meeting flow. We agree to work sessions and board meetings. And the assumption was that in the work sessions, we were going to get information and have discussions about that information. And then in the next regular meeting, take any action relative to what's going on. So I wouldn't change that section of the document. I think it's fine. It's just, how do we schedule our meetings? And I agree with Ken. You could have a special meeting that's how our city council does it. We have a special meeting the first Thursday of the month and our regular meeting the second Thursday of the month. The difference in the agenda is in our regular meetings, that's when we get staff reports and we look at the sheriff's report. We look at the finance stuff from the invoices that were paid. But in the special meeting, we have narrow topics that we're discussing, whether we're working on an ordinance review or something like that, and we want to take some action. That's just my input.
Well, I think 4 meetings a month is a little, we don't need them anymore. My opinion, that's personal opinion.
I don't think anyone wants 4 meetings a month. I think we talked about that. I agree with you that 2 meetings a month. I would call one a special meeting and I would call one a regular meeting.
So would that eliminate, and I've just got an extremely busy schedule like many of you. If I couldn't make that special meeting, does that eliminate me from having any input on the special nuances, the little things that are involved with the NSSA, as opposed to just showing up for the general meeting where it's just a broader context? Because for me, I might take an issue with that as opposed to, yeah. So that would be my question is, if I can't make that special meeting, what happens then?
You'll get the agenda. If you can't make it, you can let us know. write something. I know your schedule's, you're slammed. You don't know when you're taking off. And Tony has to leave town quite a bit, but we want, you know, Tony, you're not going to be excluded. Your opinion matters. I think the work sessions we need to be moving forward. We need to be productive. We need to, if we need to take action, we can do it. 2 meetings a month makes sense to me. I see you're nodding your head, Tim, but
I absolutely agree. I think we need to be able to make decisions at the meetings. 2 a month, that's plenty. If you can't make one of the meetings, obviously you see the agenda, you see something that you have concerns, you call the board chair and you discuss it, your concerns with the chair at that time. And then hopefully the chair can address your concerns at the regular meeting, or both of them being meetings, obviously. Whether we call them special meetings, regular meetings,
just board meetings.
That's just semantics to me.
Yeah.
They both come up with the same output. We're able to make decisions. We're able to move forward. We're able to discuss things. I see at my council meetings, we have one meeting that is more formal, that we have all the things. The other that eliminates some of this procedures. Personally, when public is there, we have 2 or 3 members of the community that are at most of our meetings. I generously allow them to speak throughout the meeting. I want to hear what they have to say because they're there just as much as I am, it seems like. So if it became cumbersome because there's 20, 30, 40 people showing up at the meetings, then the board chair would definitely have to limit any kind of public interjection to the meetings, obviously, because you have that gavel, you have that capability. But I want to hear what the public has to say, but I want to be able to conduct business at every meeting.
I want public to be a part of every one of our meetings, and even more so now.
Until there's 200 of them carrying torches.
And I'm out of here. Mary says, will Keller be attending special meeting or board meetings to report? We're hoping. We're going to make contact with them, Mary. Find out what part of their contract states how much time they're going to give, how they're going to participate, and who they're going to allow us to have contact with. I know we got to keep Peter busy, but not on the communication.
If we have questions for them, I think that they will be there.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it might be good to have a formalized way that you're going to engage, you know, so that, again, the board and anybody, if you want a DEQ or Mrs. Oregon to know about that you set that up. So it would be important to think about how you want that communication to go, because there's going to be points where, you know, you will be needing to give input to them based on costs, based on, you know, getting feedback from your communities, whatever it is, because this is a big, expensive project and exciting, and they're going to be a lot of O&M. And so being able to really be able to articulate that so you all understand what choices you're making for the good of your communities.
And that's why, you know, as we've talked about, 2 meetings a month, the first Monday and the third Monday of the month. Excuse me, Mr. Gander.
So I'd like to address Tony's question. I think it's a good question, because I think there's 2 ways that you can deal with that. You can send an email to each of the board members at the night of the meeting, or you can send an email or a document to the chair and ask it to be read into the record.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those items will give you access to communicate your concerns in the meeting. Unfortunately, you won't be able to vote, but it'll give you, your opportunity to represent your community, what you're hearing, and your own perspective on whatever's on the agenda. Our procedures say that the secretary is supposed to get you all the documents that were at the meeting that you were absent at, and give you an opportunity to review them and have input. So, I think it would be important for us to have some rules that we feel we follow when maybe a couple of members are absent and we're not getting the full depth and breadth of the discussion that maybe we should be at our special meeting, where we have a discussion, but then we table it to the regular meeting that is, like Tim said, a little bit more formal and more procedurally based.
Tony?
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that, Brian. And that's probably very helpful. I don't want to stop progress, because I understand that's what the idea behind not having just these other meetings and actually being able to make decisions and move forward, because we're at that spot. But if there is a way, yeah, I mean, for those of us that we're on the road, and if somebody sends me a document and says, hey, you got an opportunity to weigh in on this prior to the meeting, if you can't make it, it's on you. That's very helpful. I think that's great. And that also, I realize, layers on another layer of responsibility. Who's going to send that document? Who's going to take that responsibility? And I don't want to push that on anybody else, but I don't know, just a point of discussion. But let's keep moving forward. I think it's good having 2 meetings and just being able to get decisions made.
Look at, we're a team, we work together, we're gonna make it work. So we understand everybody has a schedule. We're all volunteers, we're all in this together, so rock and roll.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. And then if we bounce back to Mary's question about whether Keller's going to be involved in these, maybe we can start next month, or even at our next, if we call it the special meeting, and just say, we have this standing action of Marion County Engineer and Design Update, Brian Nicholas, but would we just change that to Keller Associates and just start requiring them to come give that update?
Well, it all depends what their contract is, because I know their last contract, they only had so many hours set aside for communication. And we have to follow their contract, whatever is worked out. Arthur, I see you shaking your head on that one. Do you have any input?
I started to, Kent. Maybe I'll just say that, remember that the meter is running whenever an engineer shows up at your meeting.
Yeah.
That might be worth it, right? But just keep that in mind.
Yes.
So, as with Silas's presentation, communication is a key to a lot of things. Part of our communication would be us communicating with Keller, so that Keller would be prepared to throw something at our meetings if we had questions or whatever. So it might be one meeting, we come up with some stuff, communication goes to Keller, and then Keller has the opportunity to prepare something for us for our next meeting if they choose, or if they want to come in to share with us, they can do that too. But I agree, the meter's ticking every time that they're online or doing anything. So we just got to be able to communicate with them and not just sit back and wait for them to communicate with us.
So would that sound possibly interesting to you then? 30 minutes at our monthly work sessions? If that fits, or at our monthly board meetings for Keller? Would that, if that were to fit the contract, do you think that would fit our needs?
We got to find out what the contract is.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And
right now it's the fast start contract. It's not the big behemoth contract.
Yeah, I'd like to get them off the clock.
But I would think even at that point too, if it is that they're on the clock, kind of what Tim was talking about, we kind of group our questions together over whatever the period of time it is and say, okay, now we want to have you come in while you're on the clock for 15 or 20 minutes. And yeah, that might be effective, but
I think we're gonna find out a lot with what's going to happen. What is that, December 13th
13th,
in Detroit? I think we're gonna,
13th.
yeah, 13th, we're gonna find out a lot. And then we can start, if we can have questions afterwards. Okay, do you have that on your calendar, Tony? For December 13th, it's a Tuesday, 6 p.m.
it will be now. Has it been sent possibly to the city council, or should I do that?
Let's wait a little bit. I think Denny, I think there's a work session.
Some formalization to happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
wait.
if you can just let me know. Yeah.
Yep, you know me, I will. I'll let you know.
You've got two hands up.
Arthur.
Thanks, Ken. So just want to revise my comment a little bit. Monthly check-ins with the engineer is a regular part of these capital improvement projects. Mary and I, for example, meet every month with the city of Falls City and their engineer to talk about the sewer project that they have going in Falls City, which is, I don't know, 1/10 of the size, less than 1/10 of the size of yours. And so it's perfectly normal to meet with an engineer and to expect them to show up with progress updates every month. But I guess what I'm getting at is you probably only want to ask for that in 1 or maybe 2 meetings. If they're already meeting with the county every month to give the county an update, and then you're asking to give updates to the board, just be sensitive to that, because that's where I see the meter starting to run. So that's just my 2 cents.
No, good, Arthur, because they'd be saying the same thing to Marion County that they'd be saying to us. And
Right, I know soon they're trying to start up weekly project meetings. You know, and that could be a really good avenue, you know, especially if we had our questions written down and, you know, should there be a round table section? Hey, we have a couple questions from the NISA.
Could
I
I?
think you should make Denny go to those meetings.
I think they're starting next week because we have Veterans Day off this week, right? So I think they start next Friday.
Mr. Gander, you had your hand up. You took it down.
Oh, I took it down because I thought we had a practice where you called on people and
Well,
instead of
you
people
know,
just chiming in. So.
we're pretty informal, but understand.
So, like Arthur said, you know, when we had capital improvement projects at the school district, we expected the contractor to be at one school board meeting a month. We put him on the front of the agenda. He was gone after the first 20 minutes, and that was the expectation of the contract. So maybe that's something to consider.
We have to find out what their contract states. McCray, I know you're under my name. You got my name on your board.
Oh, I wanted to offer that what we had with our previous contract for phase 1, when we were doing the original engineering, when COG was managing the contract with Keller, was part of our contract had them attending every monthly meeting. So I think it'd be worth learning what the county worked out with them. And I think that you all are having a great conversation. But what I wanted to remind and offer for those that are new, when Keller attended, that was like some of the most informative parts of our meeting for you all as a group, where you all, I mean, that was the bulk of the conversation. So if it's not monthly, bi-monthly, or working out whatever is appropriate with Public Works and Marion County staff, but I have a feeling it's built in their contract. And I just wanted to remind you that what we did with our previous work was they attended, and it was a benefit.
Yeah, big time.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So Candace, Mary, I think also you could look at milestones. So like if it didn't make sense for them to come every month, because, you know, the facility plan is, you know, one piece there's a certain structure to that, and you'll get you get better cost estimates. They'll actually say which, you know, for sure, which is going forward. Yeah, it's going to be this kind of plant with this kind of disposal. but they'll have to do that groundwater study, first to make sure they understand the restrictions or the benefits of each of the properties they're going to look at. So you could look at having updates at key milestones if your contract didn't allow them to come all the time, because there'll be a point where they're scrambling to get the information. And once they have the key information, then the other stuff will start flowing. So.
No, I agree. Keller's gonna be real busy here, real quick.
Oh yeah, they got ARPA funds and you have to have it supposed to be constructed by
Yeah.
December 2026.
So we don't want to take up too much of his, I'll see what I can come up with. I hate to bother Peter, but I just might have to just ask him what the communication part of it is and just go from there. He can let me know in a very short period of time. Like, Ken, don't call me. So, all right. We got the board meeting, work sessions, we got that discussed, community representation. I think we've already talked about community representation. Do we need to talk about that anymore?
Well, let me just give you guys a quick refresher because I got some notes about
Okay.
it.
Thank you, Larry.
Let's see. The community refresher. Oh, here we go. We were talking about how do we generate board members when a community cannot fill its spot? What do we do? We suggested having an ad hoc membership for a spot that cannot be filled. Make sure that at-large members are not loaded with too many members. And if we cannot make a quorum because a community cannot sustain membership, we should use a process for recruiting board members. Say that each community has their members appointed by city council, perhaps, and they need to send a letter to NISA that they are being appointed by city council.
Right.
Then should the board drop down to 5, then we would go into appointing ad hoc members to avoid losing a quorum and letting us have a more flexible membership.
And then we would lower the quorum, the number of,
The lower the quorum, instead of 4 members to, I guess, 3 members if the board drops down to 5.
I think we should. That's something that could be brought up at the different council meetings that we attend. Hopefully get it on the agenda to talk to them about it, to have representation, to promote it. What does everybody else think?
I think you should tell the cities it's their duty to supply 2 members. The cities, this is going to be for the benefits of all the communities. The cities should be able to recruit and supply members. I understand Detroit, Idana, especially having a small population, it's going to be difficult. But if that's why our bylaws should say that we have anywhere from 5 to 8 members, but the cities should be on the hook to supply somebody.
Yeah, but I'd also, while I appreciate that statement, I'd also be real careful. I mean, I'm up here and I'm talking to everybody. I'm very active in the community. It's just not as easy. It's just not that easy up here. I'm sorry to tell you, and even not to separate myself from Detroit, but you have a lot of people that are community members that live in Kaiser that are able to be on city council and other boards for Detroit than when it comes to Idana. So I want to be careful about that. And I'm going to be an advocate to take what the message that you just said to try to get more of my neighbors to be involved. But yeah, anyway.
I'm gonna see if I can get up to one of the real soon, get up to one of the Idana council meetings. Denny.
Well, Ken, at the last Detroit City Council meeting, I approached Laura Harris, who's very involved in the fire department up in Idana. And we had a long conversation, Tony, and I've emailed you about this in the past. And she indicated to me that she was going to go to the next city council meeting and see what she could do about drumming up some interest within the community for another person from IDANA. So, you know, we are making attempts to help one another recruit within our communities. But as Tony aptly mentioned moments ago, it's tough because those who are interested in volunteering get tapped out really easy and very early.
Yeah, but maybe
There's
we can,
another hand up. Brian.
Brian, Mr. Gander.
So I remember us coming to the idea that if a community could not recruit a candidate in a specified period of time, that we would send them a letter to say, just a reminder, your post has been vacant for X amount of months, 5 months, 4 months, whatever it is. At the next board meeting, we will be addressing that and recommending an ad hoc member be placed to complete our board. And that member will serve for whatever. And I think that keeps our board whole. Tim made a very good comment last time about overrepresentation, you know, getting too many people from the larger communities. But at some point, we need valuable ideas from not just, you know, 5 of us, but 8 people. So I would make sure that we can communicate with a community saying, hey, we know this is hard, but can you do it? And if you can't, we're going to appoint an ad hoc. Please get back to us as soon as possible. And then we need to just move because our agendas are going to get packed and the pace is going to be quick.
I actually think that that's 100% fair and yeah, totally reasonable. I think especially when we go back to the whole thread of what we're talking about communication, that you know, whether it's one of these city council meetings that we attend as the NSSA and we say, look, here's the deal. You haven't been able to, as you've stated, Brian, fill this position, and for the integrity and be able to move forward for decision making, it is going to be filled by an ad hoc position. And if you don't want that to happen, let's find an alternative. Let's find somebody within the community somehow, and whatever that time frame looks like. So yeah, I appreciate that, and I would agree with that.
Did everybody get Arthur's comment?
Yeah. Charge them double.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I agree. I think it's gonna all work out. We're just gonna show up to meetings, talk to them and communicate with them. We haven't been there and it's gonna start happening. It's all good.
It should be specific in our procedures. It should be an outline that we all know, hey, it's month 5, we're still down at 7. We need to recruit.
Right.
We need to move and we need to be at full strength. The question becomes, how do you unseat them? You know, when you recruit someone, do you say you recruit them for a 2-year term, or do you recruit them until the next general election and give the city council a chance to appoint at that point? You know, those are some particulars you're going to have to sort out. We'll have to sort out so it's clear to communities that their IGA is being honored, but the sewer authority is moving forward too.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's, you know, that's probably a good segue into our next one.
Term limits?
Term limits, you know, because as we do like recruit, you know, as we do say, hey, city council, it's your duty to appoint a member for 1 year, 2 years. You know, and whether or not there are term limits on our officers. But I guess, you know, I don't want to move on to like term limits, say for like, you know, our president, but what do you guys think about for members themselves? If we do tell a city, hey, you guys need to give us a member.
I think we have our community representation down. We're gonna have to make some changes. We're gonna have to first do the first step and go there and communicate with them and see if we can just give them a nice little nudge. Let's see what comes up, but let's move on to term limits now that it's been brought up. Even with board members, chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, the whole ball of wax.
Okay, cool. So what we have here for discussion on our notes, we're not in favor of a succession plan. We'd be more in favor of a 2-year term. We vote yearly for the position, but we don't really get a lot of people stepping up, so we don't want to lose the history for losing them. And so we make the decision at this meeting if we want to have the term limits. We don't need to have them, but we can if we want to.
Open up for discussion. Denny.
Well, we've just completed a discussion about how difficult it is to develop resources within these small communities. And the next thing we talk about is having term limits. You know, the dots don't connect. The last thing we want to do is put something in place that's going to diminish even more the resources that are available to man these various boards and committees within the city. So I think we leave it alone and we treat every member like a government mule and use them as hard as we can for as long as we can. And then we go out and find somebody else to replace them when they finally get fed up with it. And I don't see many people leaving unless there's a life event that intervenes and causes that departure. So that's how I feel.
Mr. Gander.
Well, I would agree that service on the board is not limited. I mean, you can't really tell a city council, you know, you need to change out that representative. You're right, Danny. Ride that horse as long as you can. I do believe that a board's strength is when all board members know all the processes. So I do believe the leadership position should be term limited. Chair, vice chair, treasurer, and I believe we created communications as a position. So the board is stronger when all the individuals on the board serve in a variety of capacities over time and feel the pain that the board chair feels, you know, after doing it for 2 years, and they take their opportunity. So I think that's healthy for the leadership structure of the board.
Right now, I think the term limit is 1 year. So if that wants to change.
Well, it hasn't been followed, right? So a policy is only as good as well as it's followed. So
Myself, I am a strong proponent for term limits on paid elected positions. Volunteerism is a whole nother ball game. Myself, coming up on my 10th term as being mayor of Mill City, I would gladly step aside if someone else wanted to step up that was a strong team player. I don't believe in kicking out our leadership from leadership roles just because they've been in there for 1 or 2 years, because there's strength in it as well for what they do, as well as I know looking at my city councils, if I say, okay, I'm stepping down, I'm going to take your spot as a counselor tomorrow, and you're going to take over my term as mayor, I would have a lot less people signing up for city council because they don't want the leadership role. They want to be an active participant. They want to be a team player, but they don't want to be the one holding the gavel, and they don't want to be the one that gets the late night phone calls and all that good stuff. So I don't want to kick out leadership just because they put 2 years in as a leader. Now we got to find a new leader. So I think we should have some component where by 2/3 vote of the board or something like that, we could replace a leader or obviously a majority of the leadership role should come up for a vote of confidence from all the board members, but even in expelling a board member, we need to have a 2/3 of the people ought to say, you know what, they're just not a team player. We can get rid of them. Something like that. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
Larry,
Oh, Brian had his hand up first. You go ahead first, Brian.
No, I've spoken, Larry. You go ahead, share your point.
Okay, yeah, I mean, as it stands, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but next year, aren't we just gonna have elections for our officers anyway? And that's what strikes the balance of, well, if somebody wants to, go up for election of one of the officer positions, they could. So that way we could keep cycling through these leadership positions, but we wouldn't just say, okay, Ken has been the chair 2 years already, Ken can't be the chair again. If he could continue getting elected every year, if nobody else wanted to, run against him.
I think you're gonna have trouble finding a replacement.
Well, I mean, there's two Kens. There's two Ken Woodwards,
I know. McRae's got it next.
Maybe somebody should ask those who would be interested in that position to raise their hands.
My hand's already up, so I wasn't responding to you, Denny. What I was going to respond to Tim's point is that what I've seen in that, Tim, is that creates kind of an adversarial winner-loser kind of format. If the leadership folks know that, well, I'm a communication person, but maybe I'd really like to lead, that doesn't preclude them from switching spots. But if I'm forced to create conflict to become the chair, then that's unhealthy for an organization. And so, when a person is appointed chair and they know they're chair for 2 years, I mean, right now it's 1. We could just say, you get it for 2 years. And then at the end of the 2 years, someone else is going to have to step up.
I get to retire.
And that is a little less frictional within the system and smoother.
Well, I think you make a great point, Brian. And I've always encouraged boards, and I've been doing this for decades and decades, that you never have competitive races within a volunteer organization, because I don't care who you are, you don't like to lose. And you certainly don't like to lose if you're involved in a volunteer organization. So, I've always advocated for the executive committee in most of the organizations I've been involved with to come up with a slate of officers, and there's one candidate for each one. And then we simply ask, for the railroad to go through as we vote them in by acclamation, and you avoid anybody feeling like they lost, yet they're still in the organization as a volunteer. And additionally, I don't know how you, in a volunteer organization, tell your group that somebody has to step up, because you wouldn't tell me that. Because if I didn't want that position, I would simply refuse. And if that wasn't palatable for the organization, that's okay, and I would respect that, and I would just depart and they could fill my position. I just think we're getting way too complicated in a lot of this stuff for a volunteer organization. For God's sake, let's just run it. And I've said this before, proceed until apprehended, and make the best use of the resources we have, instead of trying to fix everything in some format that looks real nice in a booklet of regulations.
Hear, hear.
Well, I'm just fearful we will never find the perfect format anyway, because there's always something. An exception to every rule is one of my favorite sayings, because there always is. And let's tackle problems when they come up instead of trying to anticipate problems before they happen. Too
Agreed.
much. I mean, some things you gotta obviously try and anticipate, but some of these things are I want to say, will destroy our liberties in trying to overregulate, because that's what liberty is freedom from excessive regulation.
Well, if I may continue the discussion just a little bit, you know, we've talked about an awful lot of stuff tonight, and hopefully we're within a few weeks of having the authority manager, if that's what they're going to be called. So we're going to have a professionally trained person, 15 to 20 hours a week at our beck and call to help develop some of these processes and procedures that we've talked about tonight, to flesh them out and bring them to the board for evaluation and ultimately to approve, amend, and or disregard. And I'm looking forward to the time that we have that person to help us move forward.
Oh, everybody, you know, it's 8:02. We've, as Denny says, we have covered a lot tonight. I would like everybody to, does everybody have access to the board policies, procedures, and decorum?
I don't have the password.
I've read them.
Tony, you don't? I'll get them to you. Tim, you don't? I know you do. Anybody? Review them. Right now, I just want, I know it's past our time. We're gonna put on the next meeting topics. We're gonna go communication policy strategy, password, Google Drive. We're gonna review the policies and procedures. We can let go the term limits for now.
I just heard Denny say that we should wait till the project manager comes up so they can do them and present them to us. Isn't that what you just said, Denny?
Yeah, I did actually. Thank you, Brian.
So why are we muddling around with this stuff if we're just going to turn it over to a manager to define? Let's get on to the other business of the.
That's fine, then I guess we don't need to do that, but I was just gonna get everybody to review them and see what they think, so we can let that go, so that's no longer.
Right. In that case, then the next step is our communications plan.
Okay, communications plan.
Well, we've had plenty of discussion about communication plans tonight, and I'll repeat what I said earlier. Until we have a lot more facts than we have currently, we really don't have the information other than what we've already developed in the white paper as well as the FAQs to do much communication.
Well,
So,
I think,
you know, at the county, you're going to have Brian Nicholas who's in charge. He just hired a clerk of the works or a project manager. I mean, when we used to build a big project that was 10 or 20 or $100 million, we had a clerk of the works who was the daily person on site and who communicated with the stakeholders at various meetings during the month or the quarter. And so we're going to have that person, and then Keller's going to have their communication person. We're going to have our person, and then if we end up with this grant that Silas is working on, there's the opportunity to have another communications consultant. So, you know, I just think we're jumping the gun a little bit. We should use what we have. We should get out there into the various meetings within the communities and make this information available, but understand that we've just barely touched the surface, and we need to coordinate all of this through our new manager or whatever their title is, so that we have a concise, complete, and crisp presentation for anybody who's interested in where the project is and what the bogeys are for the various milestones.
I think what the communications now should be is find out all the council meetings when they are and attend them to see about recruiting other board members.
You know, I can tell you this, that at every city council meeting in Detroit, part of my report has to do with what's going on at NSSA, as well as some other things that I'm involved in. And I'm willing to go anywhere, anytime that anybody thinks it would be helpful to have somebody from our organization present the material that we have collected so far. And I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, me as well.
The mileage doesn't bother me. I can get to Detroit in an hour and 5 minutes. So a little further for IDAN and a little shorter for Gates.
Well,
I do that every meeting at every regular meeting. So Larry, our meetings are first Thursday, third Thursday, every month. Special meeting on the first Thursday, regular meeting on the third Thursday. That's when we have reports, and well, you've been to them, so you know. So whenever you want us on your calendar, that's fine. I do exactly what Denny does in my sanitation report. I type up my notes from these meetings and report them out to our community.
I think Diana.
What I believe right now is that the people that are on our board are already doing the communication. I don't know that we're missing anything right now, except more information to be more effective in terms of the project components that people most care about, which is in Detroit, and that's all I can speak for, is the temporary system for the business core. And number two in Detroit is, how are you going to compensate me for a septic system that was either damaged or completely ruined during the fire?
Right.
And those are the two issues. And beyond that, everybody else who has a septic tank just hopes somebody doesn't shut them down, especially if they're close to the lake. So
I think there's two places where we're weak. We should have someone sit down on KVAL. It's a nice little radio station. I don't know who listens to it. I don't listen to radio, but
not me.
It seems like it's popular. I think someone should sit down on KVAL, like I think Denny, you did a while ago, and have a conversation with Ken Cartwright about the sewer authority. And I think someone should sit down with the writer, Stephen Parks, I think he is. He's the writer for the Canyon Weekly, and give him an update as to where we're at.
Yeah,
Those
I just
two
spoke with
simple-
James Day at the meeting last Saturday, and I told him that I was available to do that with him, and I wouldn't mind having an audience with the people at the radio station.
Do
Ken
that
can
every
probably
other
help me
month for the
figure that
next
out.
6 months until things are rolling and and communications is up and running, then we
All right.
be fine.
A lot of a great meeting. Let's end the meeting, and we're gonna put something together for our next one, which will be the third Thursday, correct? We're gonna
Third Monday.
When did I say, Thursday?
Yeah.
Now you got me Thursdays. When I'll find out from Idana when their next council meeting is. So anyway, it's 8:10, everybody. If you have any, well, we're gonna go over the topics for our next meeting, so let me know what you think. Like I say, this, on our board policies and procedures, we got to follow them. It takes two people to get something on the agenda. So let me know. I think Janet will be back in town the next 3 days. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Anything else real quick, like?
Don't forget to vote.
Yeah, already done that.
Thank you all.
Weeks ago. Thanks, everybody. It is 8:11. Thank you, everyone, and for all your hard work. And Keith, thank you. We're gonna get you in there.
You have a good evening, Ken.
You as well, Keith. Thanks a whole bunch. Arthur, thank you again. Mary, see ya. And Carrie, see ya. McCray, and our super champion.
Great meeting, guys. Thank you.
Hey, all right, everybody, I'm gonna stop the recording.